Hi, and welcome to Data Analytics, However You Cloud, Public, Private, or Hybrid. Today's awesome webinar is sponsored by HPE Greenlake and Micro Focus Vertica and produced by Actual Tech Media. My name is Jess Steinbach with Actual Tech Media, and I am absolutely thrilled to be your moderator for this discussion. The conversation we're here to participate in today is so important because data and data analytics have the potential to be your organization's superpower in activating growth, scalability, and profitability. Accessing and understanding your data is a key step towards reaching your organization's goals. So whether you are on a public, private, or hybrid cloud, this webinar will have something for you. To help us explore these exciting ideas and learn more about the cloud that comes to you, we will be joined by two expert presenters, Robert Midkiff, Alliance's Chief Technologist Micro Focus, and David Shore, Director, HPE Greenlake, Edge to Cloud Solutions. We have so much amazing content to dig into, and I cannot wait to get started. So I'm going to cruise through just a few housekeeping things, and then I will hand the mic over to our presenters. Okay. First, I want to draw your attention to the question section of the webinar console. Now, the absolute best part of a webinar like this is the chance to ask questions directly of informative presenters like Robert and David. I know that you will all be bursting with questions, so make sure to get those in. And hey, if we are unable to get to your question in the live Q&A, don't worry. The team from HPE Greenlake and Micro Focus Vertica will be following up with you after the event. Quick reminder that the questions console is also a great place to say hi and to connect with the other awesome humans in our audience today. It's also where you can reach out to the Actual Tech Media team if you happen to have any technical issues during the session, knock on wood, of course. Don't forget that a browser refresh should get rid of any of the usual tech gremlins. Okay, I want to skip along to that handout section right next to the questions tab in your console. You're going to see some exciting content to go along with the webinar today, including a slide deck from Robert and David, a chance to book a customized Vertica and HPE Jumpstart workshop, and a link to explore the Vertica HPE Greenlake marketplace, and lots more. So be sure to head to that handout section, check it out, click around. And hey, it's not just awesome content that we're giving away today. We also have a $300 Amazon gift card as a prize drawing at the end of our webinar. Of course, you must be in attendance during the live event to qualify for the prize, and all winners must meet the Actual Tech Media prize terms and conditions. If you are not sure what those are, don't worry. You can find the full T's and C's in the Handouts tab. Just click in and scroll all the way down to the bottom. Now, I know that we're not going to need any extra nudging to ask questions today. But hey, we like curiosity here. So today we're going to be giving away a $50 Amazon gift card to the best question asked during the webinar. Now, keep in mind that we will actually review all the questions asked after the live event, which means that even if your question does not get read out in the live Q&A, there's still a chance to win. And as always, we will reach out via email to our lucky winner after the event. Okay, team. Now, I know that you are just as impatient as I am to get started on our sessions today. And I am so thrilled to introduce our expert speakers. So I'm going to bring them on with me now. All right, this is Robert Midkiff, Alliance's Chief Technologist Micro Focus, and David Shore, Director, HPE Greenlake, Edge to Cloud Solutions. Robert and Dave, thank you so much for being here today. I know you have a lot to cover, so the platform is all yours.
Thank you very much. And as you just covered, hi, I'm Dave Shore. I'm the North American Director of HPE Greenlake Edge to Cloud Solutions. I'm very pleased today to be joined by Robert Midkiff. Robert, why don't you say hello quick, and I'll then get into my content.
Yeah, looking forward to speaking to everybody this afternoon about Microfocus and HPE and our partnership here. Dave's going to kick us off, and then I'll chime in once he kind of shows you a little bit about what we're going to be doing.
Thanks, Robert. So Robert and I are coming together for this webinar to inform you of a joint solution we've built, which enables the enterprise, your enterprise, to benefit from the combination of HPE's Greenlake private cloud and Vertica's very high performance database and analytics engine. By the end of this session, our intent is that you'll understand what HPE Greenlake is, what Vertica's analytical database can do, and the power and agility you can realize by combining the two. And we'll help you understand clear, simple steps you can take if you want to explore this combination in more depth, which you already just heard a little bit about. First, a quick synopsis. Many of you are familiar with Hewlett Packard Enterprise. We are a 7 billion a quarter, so a 30 billion-ish sized company. And many of you know of us or think of us as a hardware company, a company that makes servers, storage, and network products. We are quickly shifting our charter to become a cloud, edge to cloud services company. We will still manufacture great hardware, server storage, networking, and software, but increasingly everything that we offer in our company is being offered through this GreenLake as a service model. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the market shift we're seeing, the problems and challenges we're seeing our customers face, and then you'll understand why we're shifting our corporate strategy towards GreenLake, because we think it speaks to you, our customers, and what you're looking for. It may be obvious that data is the life force of your business. You may already know and recognize that the amount of data and the opportunity to use it to improve competitive advantage is growing at an astounding rate. But many IT organizations have not yet set up their operations to function in a data-centric world. You know, you don't have to go back very far to find IT data largely created by knowledge workers inputting information from keyboards. That was the source of truth for most IT shops. These data elements could easily be organized, processed, stored, and backed up in central data centers. And moving these types of workloads to the cloud at least seemed as though it would be as simple as transferring processing from your data center to that of a hyperscaler. But today's environment is in fact very different. Data is being created everywhere by very different types of devices. Gartner recently stated that there are over 40 billion devices at the edge, and the number of edge devices is growing by the billions annually. Data created by video capture is creating terabytes of data per day. I'm working with several companies right now that need to process over a petabyte of new data per week. These are new challenges. Companies that need to deliver rich experiences, such as to consumers, across billions of data captures that happen per day. Companies that need to accelerate decision velocity by capturing data that they're creating, say, out of the manufacturing floor, where they're capturing video data quality information. And all of these brands and corporations want to be able to make decisions quickly, see around the corner, and figure out what should happen next. In order to do that, you need to have a very agile infrastructure and a very agile software architecture environment. Data is being created in all of these places. Much of it is being created at the edge. And this is a slide that I've kind of modified in a way, because the top bullets in each section come from our corporate organization. The quotes come from customers that I've spoken with literally in the last few weeks. So in the upper left, agility and scalability, customers saying they know that they need to move rapidly, and when they need new infrastructure, they need it in hours or days, not the weeks or months that it sometimes takes when you're putting infrastructure on-prem, which is one of the reasons that customers go to the cloud, because they need that agility. Business data is being trapped. We've had customers say that with the terabytes of data being created at the edge every single day, they don't know how to manage it all. What do you keep? What do you discard? What do you back up? What do you use to train your data models? It's very complicated, and a lot of that data gets lost. Organizations need to be untethered to IT operations. I talked very recently to a company who said, we have a hard time finding and retaining data scientists. The last thing we want is for those people to be spending much of their day performing administrative tasks or integration tasks. But the truth is that a lot of today's software is a stack of open source solutions and with little end customer support. So these expensive data scientists spend far too much of their time acting as IT administrators. And finally, the complexity. In a workshop I recently attended, somebody said, "Hey, I have 3 different cloud vendors. It feels to me like I'm back in the 80s where I had multiple proprietary operating system environments, and trying to manage all these cloud vendors is almost as complex as when I had different flavors of Unix and other proprietary OSs that I was managing." So a lot of these things are what are driving customers to a public cloud focus. But really what people want is agility, the freedom to not be tethered to IT operations, a reduction in complexity, and an ability to manage trapped data wherever it exists and everywhere it exists. So you can rationalize and make decisions on where and how you should use infrastructure, not be forced to decide where it should be. And this is what we see. We see a trend of moving from what we consider to be a first wave of an infrastructure first world, where corporations and IT spend was primarily focused on taking relatively simple data types and moving them to a central data center or to a central cloud in order to manage that data. We believe that we're moving as a market and as the IT industry into a data first wave where so much data is being created that it's important to figure out how and where that data should be managed and maintained. We're advocating a move from infrastructure first to data first. Instead of focusing on managing silos of IT that have been built over years or even decades, in this model, everything should be easy to manage, and your data should be able to be where it was created in some cases, instead of forcing your data to mold to where your infrastructure exists. And this is what we mean by a data first model. So with that backdrop, this is why we are literally reinventing our company on the basis of providing a cloud anywhere, cloud everywhere approach. We call it HPE Greenlake, and our tagline is that HPE Greenlake is the cloud that comes to you. What HPE Greenlake does is it provides a dedicated agile platform. This is dedicated infrastructure. It is your infrastructure. It can be in your data center. No one else sees it or touches it except you. So that just sounds like buying hardware, right? But you don't own the hardware and you don't manage the hardware. In fact, you only pay for the hardware and infrastructure that you use. So as more infrastructure comes to your floor in an infrastructure as a service type model, you pay for the pieces that you use. We also provide cloud automation. So we automate these environments so they act and behave as you would expect cloud to behave. Infrastructure as code type models, where if you need more infrastructure, you just click a button and say, I need to launch another instance. I need to run Vertica in another place. I need to run SAP in another place if it's some other workload that we were talking about. And any of those things are done through a web interface, click and move capability. And it's all managed for you. If you want to do system administration, HPE Greenlake will let you do that. But our assumption is that you don't want to anymore. So we take that burden off of you and we manage that completely for you. So again, this is just kind of another way of looking at it. We provide a dedicated, agile platform, and we always put more infrastructure on the floor than you need today. So we give you the effect of unlimited capacity. Think of it as a good coffee house where you have an unlimited cup of coffee. Is the coffee cup really 100 feet long? No, you couldn't hold it in your hand if it were. But if the server is constantly coming by to check and see if you need more coffee and fill it up before you even know you're out, which is what a great coffee house does, then you have virtually unlimited. And that's what we do for you in Greenlake. You always have extra. And when you even get close to using it up, we sense that. We talk to you person to person with a personalized customer experience. And we decide when you should have more on the floor so you never run out. We manage it with you or for you as you want. We provide full cloud automation and scripts service catalogs, all the things that you would expect out of a cloud service. And it can exist wherever you want it to be. It can be at your edges. So you can have a very small GreenLake instance on your manufacturing shop floor, or at your retail location, or in your hospital, wherever in whatever industry you're at. You can have GreenLake managed infrastructure at the edge. We can also put GreenLake in your data center. Or we have contracts with all the leading colo providers, Digital Realty, Equinix, and many others. So if you want to have your cloud experience without having your own data center, we can do that for you also. And in fact, GreenLake can even help you manage your public clouds. That's right. If you want to launch a new instance of Vertica or a new instance of a virtual machine or a container into one of the public cloud providers, you can do that right off your GreenLake console, which means you no longer have to go back to the 80s, because we can give you one single orchestration model that can help you manage all of your clouds, your edge clouds, your consolidated clouds, even your public clouds. And we do this all with a personalized customer experience. Every customer has a named, dedicated customer success manager. You don't get your own unless you're a very large account, but they are dedicated to you. It's not a random pool. There's somebody assigned to you. You're not an account number. You're a valued customer. We have proactive person-to-person meetings every quarter, and we will talk to you far more frequently than that at no extra cost if that's what you need in order to plan for your future together. So the GreenLake platform has all of these elements. There is the basic infrastructure support. We have a huge security capability, which I don't have time to go into today, but we can certainly talk to you about it more in the future. We have a set of advisory services that can help you determine which workloads should be in the cloud and which ones should be in the on-prem cloud, and which should stay at the edge and which data element should stay at the edge. But of course, none of this matters without a great application sitting on top. And that great application that we're going to talk about today is Vertica, which, just like HPE Greenlake, it is capable of running anywhere you need it to be. So Robert, why don't you take a few minutes and talk to us about Micro Focus and Vertica?
Wonderful. Thank you, Dave, and good afternoon, everyone. So my name is Robert Midkiff, and I actually work for Micro Focus, and I'm going to actually put up a slide here. Getting used to this interface. So I work for Micro Focus. My role is Chief Technologist, which means I get to work with a lot of technologies across a really broad portfolio that we have here at the company, and I'm going to explain a little bit about that to you in a moment. But because of that, I think it gives me a good perspective on the kinds of things our customers are seeing as opportunities in the marketplace today, and challenges that folks have across really all of IT and sort of business operations as those become more and more reliant on IT. And I'm very excited about what Dave's presenting today. It's pretty unique. We've been in this model for the last, I don't know, like decade, where we're, cloud has kind of risen to the forefront and become, the thing that everybody's doing and the thing that everybody's already talking about. But what we've kind of left behind is, what about all the things that nobody wants to put in the cloud for very good reasons, and how do we handle that, and how make that together? And I think there's been, we've tried to sort of retrofit some of that into the cloud, but this, I think, now is really starting to change how customers can do both and get the best of both. And the reason I'm excited about that in relation to analytics is because we happen to have a fantastic product in Vertica that's also known for its flexibility to be both an on-premise and a cloud solution. So I'm going to talk to you about that. And before I do, I wanted to say that I know that not everybody's familiar with Micro Focus. It's not a household name. In fact, in terms of IT enterprise technology, it's really it only been something in the last 3 or 4 years that's a brand that's come into the picture because of our history. So I've got a diagram up on the screen to really show you what that looks like. So we I think we're probably all familiar. I hope we're all familiar with on this call, since you're hearing from HPE, the HPE story, which was, back in 2014, Meg Whitman had, split the HP into, the retail consumer, all the printers and laptops and things into one company, and then all of the enterprise business into HPE Enterprise. But what you may not know is that part of that business was a $3 billion software revenue, annual revenue company, or division, which, we did application development and testing, we did cybersecurity, IT operations, big data analytics, and Vertica was, part of that portfolio of products that really HP Enterprise owned. And in 2017, uh, all of those properties were spun off into a separate merger with a British company called Micro Focus. Now, if you have any background at all in mainframe, then you probably already knew who Micro Focus was. But if you didn't have a mainframe or COBOL background, probably had never heard of them. Okay, but I'll tell you that Micro Focus is the undisputed global leader in mainframe modernization technology, and they've been doing that since the 70s. Uh, Also, for the last decade or so, many acquisitions, bringing some household familiar brands into the fold, like Novell, for example. So what we had here was a unique opportunity to bring two big software portfolios together and form, an even bigger software company. We're actually we talk about ourselves as being the in the top 10 pure play software company. So we don't sell hardware. We don't really sell services other than implementation services. So we are just really focused on software and making our customers happy with our software and keeping our customers as long as we can. So that's the whole philosophy of Micro Focus, and it's been working for a long time. So I just wanted to kind of give you a little bit of background on who we are and in some context. So when you see the Micro Focus logo popping up, you've got some grounding into who we are there. Um, we're, like I said before, a top 10 pure play software company. We've got over 40,000 customers globally. We're in 45 different countries. We've got about 12,000 employees, and we're serving almost the entire Fortune 100. I think we've got 98, it says there, out of the top Fortune 100 companies in our customer base. So, we are in a lot of places, and I'll even put an exclamation point on that by, highlighting here from an industry point of view. And is this going to work for me? It will work for me. Oh, good. Um, where we see ourselves across uh, virtually every single major industry that's out there. Okay, I mean, we have tremendous success across the board. We're trusted by 10 of the top 10 organizations in aerospace, in pharmaceuticals, telecom, software, and we also have a major presence in oil and gas, and investment services, and healthcare. So I just want to make sure that representing the breadth of the type of business that we do, and why we have this strong partnership with HPE, because we have such a shared heritage here. Now, enough about Micro Focus. I want to kind of come back to Vertica a little bit. So now that you're familiar with our brand, I want you to understand that this technology itself really changed the way that we think about database architecture. Prior to Vertica, all the major databases used a row-oriented architecture, and then this guy Michael Stonebreaker came along. He had some colleagues in MIT and Brown, and together they founded Vertica. This was in the mid 2000s, and frankly, the technology up until that point, it was just night and day difference. And this is the most technical I'll get with you on this webinar, but just to help you understand, the way databases classically work is when you go out to query any information. If you wanted to, let's say, make a calculation, like in this case, you see there's some GPAs in the table there. And if I wanted to find what's the average GPA for all the students in the database, I'd literally have to go through the entire table of all the students, read each one of the GPAs, and tally them up and do the division, right? But with a column-oriented database, and this is the technology that that Vertica really created, is the ability to say, okay, we're just only going to have a table of those GPAs. And so because we're doing that, we don't also have to actually store thousands and thousands of separate records that say 4.0. We just need one record that says 4.0, and then 3.99, though, just one of those, et cetera, right? So you have this ability now to greatly reduce the storage requirements of what's required. So the amount of time to read it not only goes down because you're not reading all of the data that's in the whole table, you only read in one column now, but also there's just less stuff to read. So those two things compound together and make the performance of a column-oriented database just blazingly fast compared to traditional, SQL or SQL Server or Oracle relational style database. So that it fundamentally is what's different, or what was different about Vertica when it came around, and why it's so much more performant. And when I say so much more performant, we were talking about workloads that would take hours and hours to run. These batch jobs that would go, from basically close of business to the next opening of business would be reduced to just minutes. I mean, it's an insanely a game-changing situation when you have this type of performance. So that's what Vertica is capable of, and we love to come in and work with you on the types of workloads that you have today. And excuse me, I've got my throat. I'm caught in my throat there. Love to come in with you and see the kind of workloads you have today and the some of the performance constraints that you're hitting, and look at doing even a side-by-side comparison. That's one way I think it really can see the difference between what you can get out of a highly performant architecture. So that's the Vertica as the technology. And by the way, it says on the slide here, Stonebreaker ended up winning the Turing Award, which is essentially like the Nobel Prize for computing. This is like the highest honor you can get from like a scientific award. And there's a whole endowment and everything, and there's typically only 1 to 2 people a year receive the award. So it's a super big deal in the industry, and I just like to tell that little story so that kind of where we're from and what the heritage is here, because honestly the technology has not improved since then, right? We've got some underlying storage things have changed. We're using in-memory systems now. We're using flash-based memory instead of spinning disks. Those things help everybody. All of our competitors benefit from that too. Sorry. but sorry, it's a little distracting. But the fundamental architecture differences are still industry leading, and we haven't seen any revolutions beyond what Vertica has been able to bring. So it's pretty exciting. Now, performance is just one aspect of it, though. Okay, so and I know I'm talking to you a lot about the technology and why it's interesting, but I'm going to bring this back to HPE Greenlake and why this is the right time to be thinking about this in your organization. Okay, so there's really 3 things that we do. So one is this SQL data warehouse that I was just describing, this column-oriented database, and that's the first capability really that Vertica brings to the bear, and that's loading and storing your traditional database stuff. But there's 2 things on top of that are super important. So one is that all of the I shouldn't say all, but most of the big artificial intelligence algorithms, so these are the mathematical algorithms that you have to be able to design and implement as part of machine learning or AI driven research or analytics projects that you're working on in your companies, which frankly every company is doing right now. I mean, machine learning is like the #1 big data topic going on. And what we've done with Vertica is build into the product all of those algorithms. So when you bring a data scientist into the organization to help you figure out how you're going to navigate the project, and it could be monetize the data, could be building new revenue streams based on data that you've got. There's all kinds of interesting data analytics projects that are going on. that data scientist is going to bring, a set of different mathematical algorithms and things to bear. Now, what's cool about Vertica is you can have that one person work with your team of, traditional BI, ANSI SQL specialists, because with Vertica you can run all of those machine learning algorithms through essentially SQL statements. So you just write a SQL statement, select XYZ from the database, and run algorithm B, right, or whatever, K means squared, or any of these algorithms. So it doesn't mean a lot to the layperson, but for the folks who are in these, and this is like an elite group of folks who are really helping us, take advantage of the power of machines and big data. This is a core of what we're doing with Vertica. So that's also part of what we have, because it is designed, to be super scalable and handle these big data petabyte, scale workloads, multiple, petabyte scale workloads. So that's the second piece. And then the third piece is this query engine. And the query engine maybe doesn't sound that sexy, but it's actually super exciting, because we've reached a point with data coming into the organization at such a rate that it's causing us all kinds of problems. And I'm going to show you, a slide that just illustrates the types of problems we're having. I mean, you've got not only, let's say you're wanting to bring just a giant data set up into the cloud to do some analytics. Takes advantage. There's a lot of great cloud analytics tools out there, but you got to get your data up into the cloud, right? And that can be pretty expensive. You might have a bill shock situation just seeing all of the charges that go into just getting the data where it needs to be, or duplicating it, and now you're storing these data sets twice. So when we say query engine, what we're saying is that Vertica can actually sit on top of your data lake. So if you're using HDFS or Hadoop, Cloudera, any of these data lake technologies, then we're a fully compliant ANSI SQL solution, SQL on Hadoop solution. So in fact, with HPE's acquisition of MapR a couple years ago, there's a great synergy there too, where we are able to basically sit Vertica up on top of the data lake. You don't have to move all of the structured, unstructured data, et cetera, into Vertica to take advantage of the performance. It actually can go out and understand what's there in the data lake, and read from that, do all the analytics. It can write down to Parquet table. There's a whole bunch of ways to architect the solution that it will allow you to leave your data where it is and start to take advantage of the power of all the AI and performance capabilities I was talking about. So that's what, when we say it's a query engine, it can sit on top of that data lake. Now, in addition, all right, to just HDFS style technologies, we also now have S3. So you're looking at the cloud-like capabilities. So this is S3 is AWS's standard, and it's fast becoming an industry standard for object storage, fast object storage. And so we at Vertica also use object storage as the way to store data, and then you scale out the compute capability of Vertica on top of that. So we have fully separated the compute and storage architectures of the product to be able to do that. So essentially now what I'm saying is that you've got, whether your data is in a data lake, or it's in an object storage environment, or it's in the cloud, or it's in a traditional database, all of those things can come together. And that this story is called unified analytics. So there's getting a lot of attention in the marketplace, is the ability to not have to start moving things around, because you introduce all the things on this slide. You get first of all, you get lock into these appliances, which is really bad, because you get all your data stuck on an appliance, and then you're paying millions and millions of dollars a year and unable to get it out because it's just too ingrained everywhere. All of the risk potentially being exposed to things that are on-prem or secure data. So there's a lot of advantages to being able to go with a unified analytics approach, and that's exactly what Dave was talking about with when they showed at the top of his diagram of the full GreenLake stack, and you see right on top, analytics, AI, machine learning on the top. That's the unified analytics story. So bringing that stuff all together from across the whole enterprise and being able to do it and run it, at the scale and at the size of an enterprise. So that's what hopefully you're taking away from this is exciting, and just some outside, so you don't just listen to Robert Midkiff tell you this. Even the GigaOM, which does a review of all the big data analytics providers, for many years has continued to feature Vertica in the leaders. I wouldn't call it quadrant, but I guess the leaders circle. Um, if you look at the competitors in the space, they're all either cloud solutions or they're appliances. Okay, so that's why we're unique, right? You're looking at really a software solution that you can run on-prem, you can run on your GreenLake environment, you can run in the cloud across all of those. You're right, you're not locking into having to do all of this stuff in the cloud. So the last couple things I'm going to share with you are just some use cases. So I think what gets most people, what gets me excited about thinking about technology solutions like this are, seeing some of the types of customers that are out there and how we're using it. I mean, we're talking about, innovative technology revolutions that are happening, on the planet, right? We've got security analytics, ride sharing, stock trading. We've got wearables, right? Smart agriculture. I mean, think about the just massive amounts of data being collected by agriculture and being able to make farms more productive. It's, these types of large scale projects that, really only today are starting to, have the impact, that they can have based on the type of analytics and the capabilities we have today, right? So that there's just still so much room for more continuing innovation. So, I don't think I'll pick on any, maybe I'll pick on, let's take Philips there. I mean, Philips is a good example. They're doing, it says IoT analytics, but what does that mean? It's things like the predictive maintenance that keep their machines up and running. I mean, Philips makes a lot of healthcare equipment. So think of your MRI that's sitting in the, in the hospital. That MRI unit brings the hospital something like, I don't know, tens of thousands of dollars an hour. I mean, this is a machine that's basically just sitting there producing revenue for the hospital, right? You never want that thing to go down. So that's the perfect kind of scenario for predictive analytics. And you get to predictive analytics by large data sets, machine learning, understanding where are the correlations between the sensor data coming off of that machine and the times that it's gone down in the past, right? And that's what we can do with machine learning, right? So you pull that data into an engine like Vertica, and you apply those built-in machine learning algorithms that I talked about earlier, and it'll show you, okay, these are the 3 or 4 events that were highly correlated to downtime within the next week or the next month, that type of thing, right? And so then you can give that to the engineers who can then understand how to proactively go in and do the right types of maintenance and repairs on the machine at a time when it's not being used, right? So that you're always up and running when the customers are there paying, right? That's the idea. Other things like, goodness, like trading. I mean, there's always an opportunity to make money in trading if you can do things faster and at bigger scale and be able to be smarter. So certainly many financial implementations out there in the market. The last thing I'll say is, customer, like there's just so much, practically everybody has a customer base, and being able to understand your customer, understand their buying habits, your customer profiles. When I have a customer who buys X, then what else what else in my catalog are they probably likely to buy, so that I can make sure I put that in front of them at the right time. That stuff's all being done by Vertica. And you've got, some of the major ad servicing companies that serve you up ads every day on the internet at home when you're browsing. Actually, behind the scenes is Vertica. So I just want to, give you some of those and help you understand the types of use cases we've got. And then I think I'll just summarize here before I get back to Dave, because I just, again, want to reiterate what I see as being a unique value proposition. And what I'm saying is you don't have to choose between a data lake and, let's say, a data warehouse or an object storage. You don't have to choose. Leave them where they are. You certainly don't have to duplicate and move things around. You don't have to choose between cloud or on-prem, right? We don't have to decide if it's worth the risk. Is it going to be worth the risk? Let's push it up into the public cloud. You can keep it on-prem now, right? That's what HPE is bringing to the table. They're saying we can do all of that cloud native servicing for you, and provide you essentially unlimited infrastructure in your own colo or in your own location. And like Dave said, they bring it up, they set up more hardware than you actually need, so that you can grow into that and scale up and scale down and all that. So it brings you that cloud capability there, and we like being part of that solution where you can then plug in Vertica where you have these high performance big data workloads and get the most out of that solution. So that's all I'll say, and I'll hand it back to Dave to kind of talk through a little bit more about HP. Go ahead.
Thanks, Robert. Go grab yourself a glass of water. Thanks for getting through it. I know you're a little under the weather today, and appreciate you joining and doing a great job. So as Robert just highlighted, and this is really why, and the slide tries to summarize it, why we're such a great combination is the ability for Vertica to behave at the edge, collect all of your edge data. GreenLake can also live at the edge, so that you can have infrastructure that's dedicated for you in your facility, but it still acts and feels like cloud, and you don't have to own it or manage it or anything. We just make it all work for you. As well, in the core, which is certainly where a lot of Vertica lives, is where a lot of GreenLake lives, handling large transactional systems. We didn't talk about it earlier, but HPE owns Cray and Silicon Graphics. So actually 33 of the top 100 supercomputers in the world are sitting on HPE infrastructure. So if you need to do very heavy duty analysis of your workloads, we can even bring those into the supercomputing environment and run that as HPC as a service under GreenLake. And in the public cloud, certainly we can monitor what you're doing in public cloud, but we can also launch these workloads in the public cloud. Robert mentioned MapR, so it's now referred to as Emerald Data Fabric. We renamed it after we acquired the technology. Some of you still know it as MapR, but it is one of the best technologies in the marketplace for being able to manage all of your data wherever it physically lives, as though it were all in one place. So you don't have to move your data. You can leave it where it sits, but still manage it as though it were all local and together. This is such a powerful thing to be able to do, that in a data-centric operating model that you can do this. And our technology is also S3 object store compatible. So you can have the same object store object model that you would have that is compatible with the public clouds, and also very much compatible with Vertica and with HPE Greenlake. So they all work very nicely together. Just to provide a point of backdrop, while Vertica is one of our signature operating and partner companies, there are lots of other places that you can take GreenLake. So there are some corporations that have decided to run their enterprise on GreenLake. I could refer you, if you want to take a look at a recent press release, to Barclays Corporation, who took a look at public and private clouds and decided to move their entire corporate infrastructure over to HPE Greenlake. And their IT budget is in the billions of dollars per year. So there are lots of things that we're enabling for companies like them, and we see it growing. And part of the reason that people are seeing it growing is not just for that flexibility and agility, which is huge, but because of how that nets out. So time to value, time to revenue, our studies show that projects can deploy 75% faster if they're sitting on GreenLake. That because of our the quality that we have of our remote management and administration of edge, core, and colo, that we can significantly reduce the amount of unplanned downtime. And the cost savings here is compared to both the old model for core, which would be just buying hardware, and where the savings are typically 30 to 40%, And for the right workloads compared to cloud, the savings can be much higher. We have situations where we have found ourselves to be less than 50% the cost, in some cases, less than 75% the cost of running a similar workload in public cloud. It's very workload dependent, and there are lots of cases where putting things on public cloud is the right thing to do and the less expensive thing to do. Sometimes people ask me, I like to use the analogy. Someone says, hey, I need a car. What's the cheapest way to get a car? And I say, well, it depends. You need a car for an hour, a day, a year, or a decade. If it's an hour, go get an Uber. If it's a day, go to Hertz or Avis. If it's a year, you probably want to lease it. And if it's a decade, well, then just buy it. So it all depends on the variability of your workload and the duration of it. Very short term, an hour, a day, absolutely public cloud is the least expensive way to manage those workloads because acquisition and for that matter, Greenlake all expect a little longer time horizon. But in that medium time horizon, the 2, 3, 4, 5 year kind of time horizon where you need agility, instant additional capacity, tremendous flexibility in your workloads, Greenlake is a terrific way to go and a terrific combination with Vertica. And we're seeing this in the environment by the rate of adoption. We started about 5 years ago. We have over $6 billion in contracts booked to date. We grow the number of enterprise customers now by almost 100 a quarter, and we're up over 1,400. And what I'm really proud of is that over 95% of our customers renew their contract at its expiration, which tells us that we are delivering recognized value. So this is what we can do through the HPE Greenlake environment. You've heard what Robert can do to provide agility and hybrid capability in a database and data analytics world. So if you want to take advantage of what we can do for you and find out whether your workloads should be under Vertica, under Greenlake, or both, you can make a decision to do one or the other and not necessarily both. That's fine too. We can set you up, and in a couple-hour workshop, we can help you figure out whether there's a business case for Vertica and Greenlake together. You can contact either one of us. I would encourage you to jot down our email addresses on the note here as we prepare to take Q&A, and just think about whether you want to sit down. So obviously, no obligation here. There's no cost associated with doing this type of workshop, and we can easily help you figure out whether there's a positive ROI and helping accelerate your business to the next level. So with that, I will pause. Thank you. And I know there's some great questions that are queued up. So I'll let our moderator take it back and let's go into Q&A. Thank you.
Wow, thank you, Robert and Dave. That was a wonderful presentation. Robert, as we were just saying, so impressed you made it through with your cold. So thank you for powering through that today. And luckily, the fun is not over because, as Dave mentioned, we have a lot of great questions. So we are going to go through some of those. Dave, Robert, you guys ready to jump right in?
Absolutely.
Awesome. Okay.
Robert's going to type his answers, I think.
Yeah. Robert, if you need to use sign language at any point during that. Okay. So I want to start with this one from Vince. Does this solution work in conjunction with Azure AWS services or independent or in place of?
So I believe he wrote that while I was talking. So I'll address it from a Greenlake perspective, and then Robert can certainly address it from a Vertica perspective. So we expect the future is hybrid, which means that we expect corporations to have public and private clouds running in their enterprise. And we've taken that into account in the design of Greenlake. So in native Greenlake, meaning without additional optional charges, really is another way of saying it, native Greenlake will give you visibility to what you're running in your public clouds, as well as let you run Greenlake in private mode. You don't have to have any public clouds in order to run Greenlake, but it can also help you have visibility to what's going on in those other environments. As well, in the next generation of Greenlake that we're just announcing, we can launch workloads into public cloud. So if you're running in GreenLake on-prem or in your data center or your colo, and you want to launch an instance of Vertica into AWS or Azure, you can do that from your GreenLake console. That's a new power that we are creating, so you really have hybrid capability. Robert, anything you want to add to that?
No, I think it's really more of a GreenLake question. Certainly, Vertica is completely platform independent and flexible. I mean, we run in every major public cloud as well as obviously on-prem and containerized. It really doesn't matter how you want to host the application. It's very flexible.
Okay. This one's a bit of an open-ended question, so if we need a little more clarification, let me know. This is coming from Jeffrey. He's wondering, are there companies that could manage this for us?
So from a GreenLake perspective, it almost feels like a softball question because the answer is yes. HPE can manage it for you. So the whole point of us being able to provide a GreenLake environment is so that you don't need to manage any of it. We own your hardware, we run your hardware. You don't even need to have a data center. We'll put it in a colo for you. And all you have to do is point at your workload, click on it, and run it. Everything that happens behind the scenes, just like in public cloud, is done for you. And if you're going to put Vertica in your workload, you can have one single point of operations through HPE Greenlake as well. And if we have a ticket that opens up because you have an issue on running your Vertica software, we can hand that right over to the folks at Microfocus, to their help desk, and we can manage that ticket handling process for you without you needing to get, involved in middleman, finger pointing, or anything. We make it very simple for you.
I'll just add from a Vertica point of view, there actually is a managed service option for Vertica. So I mean, there are some customers who are looking for a software as a service type of consumption model. That's almost every software that's out there these days has a software as a service option, and Vertica does that as well.
Awesome. Okay. Now this one is from Malikarian. I apologize, I'm sure I butchered that. Does your solution provide ML or machine learning frameworks over HPE Greenlake to run at the edge? He points out that that's an important cloud native characteristic that he feels is missing at the edge.
Wow, another great question. Thank you so much for answering it, or for asking it. So we absolutely do have machine learning models. We can use Vertica as one of the parts of that machine learning engine. We have a use case that I can talk about at a company called CareStream, and it's similar to the example of Philips that Robert brought up earlier. This machine learning model is designed to help analyze X-ray equipment and MRI equipment so that we can determine that it is going to fail in the future and catch it and repair it before it ever does fail. We helped create this model for CareStream, and actually they're now taking it and they're going to start repurposing the same type of machine learning algorithm to detect whether piping in oil wells might crack and fail before it cracks and fails. So there's some great use cases. And in the case of CareStream, we help them create their entire end-to-end MLOps environment, which is very tricky. And it goes back to the point earlier about data scientists asking as sysadmins and integrators, because we're still kind of in the wild, wild west when it comes to the AI world. Companies are given a kit of 5 to 10 software packages, and then they have to figure out how to string them all together to create that CI/CD pipeline. And we will do all of that for you with a prepackaged set of mostly open standard software so that we can create that capability for you under GreenLake.
And from my perspective, I was just wondering if maybe, Molly might have asked that before I described that stuff too, because absolutely, I mean, yes, the answer was yes. certainly, and like you said, I mean, my example that I kind of elaborated on was the MRI example, but anywhere that you have IoT or devices that are out on the edge and there's sensor data, that's an opportunity to either certainly for predictive maintenance. There's so much of that we see in the operational technology space, manufacturing floors.
Sure.
Improving product yield is a big theme. It saves lots and lots of money. I mean, I know that General Motors, for example, using like telematics and things, is able to save like literally $800 per car coming off the assembly line by big data analytics, right? So those machine learning capabilities are like I described, built into Vertica and are available as literally a SQL function call. So there's that, and Vertica itself, I should say, is a very small footprint. The tech guys like to tell me it's 128K or something. There's some small, small. It's not some like
Wow.
giant
Impressive.
implementation. It takes 15 servers. It can sit on any of the HPE. In fact, we have a cartridge for HPE's Edgeline product that's specifically tailored to Vertica. So that single cartridge can sit out there and help you run those types of workloads and do the analytics right in the front without having to send that data back into the core or waste any time going to the cloud, etc.
This is
That's
exactly
awesome.
the kind of thing that we can handle through the workshop. So would love to be able to workshop this through and see if we could help.
I love that. And that's going to segue. So we are running a little low on time, and I know there's still questions coming in, but keep in mind that the teams will follow up with you after the event. I do want to ask you guys, you're obviously eat, sleeping, and breathing this every day. What is the feature that you're each most excited about, or use case that you're most excited about?
From a feature functionality standpoint, the new innovation that we're the most excited about is our new capability to be able to not just view public clouds through GreenLake, but to actually launch workloads into them. We've had so many customers say, I just want one view of all my clouds and one launch place to run my cloud workloads. And I have Azure and I have GCP and many, obviously have AWS and they have GreenLake and they even have legacy brownfield of different brands of equipment, Dell, Lenovo, whatever that's out there. And we can literally take all of that and have it all run under GreenLake. You still have your Azure contract with Microsoft, you still have your AWS contract with Amazon, but it can all run under a common orchestration plane, and it's super exciting for our customers.
Yeah, and I mean, kind of on that same note, I mean, the thing that's held, there's a couple things that have held people back in the last 10 years as cloud's taken off, which is that risk concern and the compliance concern over the data that is currently protected on-prem. So being able to really unlock that and say, now we can actually get at that data and we can put people on it. Part of our, I didn't really talk about it today, but part of the way, one of the ways we can implement Vertica is with, we have a global industry-leading proprietary encryption capability that sits well with Vertica and it gets deployed in these types of environments where we want to be able to, in fact, there's an auto manufacturer that, they could only have think 2 people access to all of this data because there was all this customer data in there, right? And so being able to encrypt those things in a way that doesn't break all the surrounding systems, that's the secret, right? Has allowed those guys to be able to put literally 100 headcount on the project, the analytics projects they had there, and start to just generate so much more value and yield out of that data, right? So, and that was still all just within the on-prem environment there, right? But now that you think about bringing these cloud capabilities to the on-prem environment as well, all of the modern development that we do, or we just spin up a workload and it's super easy, and now I can deploy a Vertica instance on that and try some things out. You start to unlock all that potential now for those folks who are sort of, let's call it, stuck with their data on-prem, not enviously looking at the people doing all this cool cloud native stuff, right? So I think it's gonna really change what, and what's your stat on that, Dave? It's like 80% or 70 or 80% of the data is in that category. I mean, it's the majority of stuff. So what can we do
That's
with
right.
all that? I
It's
mean,
about 80%.
that's an exciting question.
Yeah, it's an
I love
outstanding use
that.
case, Robert.
Well, I know, Dave, you just mentioned the workshop, which I want to remind people they can sign up for. There's a link to sign up in the handouts tab. And we're over time now because there were so many great things to get into. So we'll wrap it up there. But I would love just if you could let everyone in the audience know if they've just totally fallen in love with HPE Greenlake, Micro Focus Vertica, which I know that they have. What do they do? What's their first step? What do they do to get started?
You just contact one of us. It's as simple as that. We'll pretty quickly figure out what the right steps are to take. For some, it's a workshop. Others just need to have a few questions answered. Whatever it is, just talk to us and we'll figure it out. We also both have great channel partners. So if you're working with a partner today and you want to go that route, we can help you. We can help route you that way as well. And we all also work with some of the largest systems integrators in the world. So if you have an SI that you do work with currently, you want to know whether they can work with us or Vertica, we can help you there too.
Yeah, and from a Vertica point of view, there's certainly a community edition that you can download and play with right off the website. So that's one way. Depending on what role you have in the organization and what your appetite for doing that kind of thing is, that might be the right fit for you as well.
Perfect. Well, thank you both again for an amazing presentation, Robert, especially for powering through, and Dave for some excellent content. This has been fascinating.
Thank you very much. Thanks for taking the time to spend with us, everyone. Appreciate it.
All right. Nice talking to you.
All right, guys. Well, we have reached the end of our webinar, and you know what that means. It is time for a prize drawing. So today's winner of a $300 Amazon gift card is Aria Gunther of Michigan. Congratulations to Aria. As always, we will be in touch about claiming your prize after the event. That's Aria Gunther of Michigan. And with that, on behalf of the Actual Tech Media team, I want to thank HPE Greenlake and Micro Focus Vertica for making this event possible. And a giant thank you to both Robert and Dave for an absolutely fascinating conversation today. And hey, sending some extra high fives and special thank yous to all of you for attending and asking some awesome questions. These events are so wonderful to be a part of because they give us the opportunity to connect and explore innovative new ideas together. I know I've learned a ton from this discussion. I hope you all have as well. I can't wait to see you at an event again soon. And until then, have an absolutely beautiful rest of your day.